just to make sure we understand borrowing, regrouping, and subtraction across zeros, which means we're subtracting when there's a lot of zeros in a number, let's go ahead and make some rules. And there are three rules when doing subtraction, and let's list all of those three rules. Well, this first situation that can happen is a no change needed. No change needed. So that means when the bottom number is not bigger than the top number. That's when no change is needed. We can simply subtract. The top number is big enough to subtract the bottom number from it. Okay, so keep that in mind. If there is no change needed in the problem for a specific column, please do say no change needed. Repeat after me, class. No change needed. Very good. And this occurs, for example, when the top number is big enough for the bottom number. All right. The second situation that can happen is a regrouping situation. So if that happens, please say regroup. This happens when the bottom number is bigger than the top number. Okay, so when that situation happens, please say regroup. Repeat after me, regroup. Very good. That's when the bottom number is bigger than the top number. Again, we are talking about a specific column, in a column, just the numbers in a specific place value, specific column. And then 3, our newest addition to the rule, is called middle zero. Please repeat after me, middle zero. Well done. And middle zero happens when you cannot borrow from a zero. Middle zero happens when you cannot borrow from a zero, and these numbers turn into 9. So these are our 3 rules that we're going to be practicing today. The first is no change needed, which means we can simply do the subtraction. It says 7 minus 3, or 5 minus 4, or 9 minus 2, where the second number or the bottom number is not bigger than the top number. Okay, and 7 minus 3, 7 is the bottom number, 3 is not bigger than 7. So we say no change needed. We will just simply subtract. The second situation is regroup, where the bottom number is bigger than the top number. For example, 3 minus 7. We cannot do 3 minus 7 because 7 is too big. It's bigger than 3. So in that situation, I want you to say regroup. And then our third situation, called middle zero, is when we cannot borrow from a zero, right? The zero is too small. We can't borrow or regroup from it. So it turns into a 9. These are the 3 different situations we can encounter. Now let's go ahead and look at some problems. Let's go ahead and look at this problem here. Okay, and let's see if we can use these 3 rules to help us solve this problem. Class, for every column, for this column, for this column, for this column, and for this column, for all of those different place values, there's 4 columns here, class. 1, 2, 3, and 4. For each of those 4 columns, we are either going to say no change needed, regroup, or middle zero. Let's try and practice, all right? So here we go. 0 minus 3. For this one, we are going to say regroup, because we cannot do 0 take away 3. So we are going to change this 0 into a 10. So this is the regrouping that we're doing. Now, in order to change this to a 10, we need to borrow from here, but there's nothing here. So this is a middle zero, and all middle zeros turn into 9s. All middle zeros turn into 9s. All middle zeros turn into 9, and in order to get this to turn into a 9, we need to borrow from this group. So this is another middle zero, and turns into 9, and this turns into a 5. Again, so this first column was a regroup, the second column was a middle zero, the third column was a middle zero. Remember, all middle zeros in the middle, turn into 9 if you need to regroup from them. And then the last column is a no change, So let's solve this. 10 minus 3 is what, class? 7, good. 9 minus 7 is 2, good. 9 minus 7 again is 2. And 5 minus 1 is 4. Again, this was regroup. The first column that we encountered was regroup. The next two were middle zeros, where they turn into 9. And the first column, all the way on the left, was a no change, because 5 minus 1, the bottom number 1, is not bigger than 5. Let's try another problem. Let's look at this one. Okay, let's look at this one. Now, 6 minus 3, we can do that. This is a no change. 6 minus 3 we can do. 8 minus 6 in the next column, we can also do. This is another no change. 0 minus 8, class, can we do 0 minus 8? No, so this is a regroup column. This turns into 10, and this turns into a 0. This is our regroup column. Now we have in the next column 0 minus 2. 0 minus 2 is another regroup column, because 2 is bigger than 0. The 2 at the bottom is bigger than 0. The bottom number is bigger than the top number. So we regroup again. The 3 turns into 2, and this 0 turns into 10. And now we're in the next column now. 2 minus 7. Again, the 7 is bigger than the 2. So this is a regroup from our 3 rules. This 2 turns into a 1. And this 2 turns into what, class? Well done, a 12. Now that we have done all of our regroupings, let's go ahead and subtract. 6 minus 3 is what, class? 3. Very good. 8 minus 6 is what? 2. Very good. 10 minus 8, class. 10 minus 8. 2. Very good. And this 10 minus this 2? 8. Very good. 12 minus 7 is? Well done. 5. And 1 minus 1 is 0. So this is our answer for number 4. Okay? Let's practice a couple more. Remember, our 3 rules are no change needed, regroup, and middle zero. Again, you say no change needed when the bottom number is not bigger than the top number. When the bottom number is not bigger than the top number, there is no change needed, and you say subtract. For example here, 6 minus 3, the bottom number 3 is not bigger than the top number 6, so there is no change needed. There is no crossing out or borrowing or regrouping needed to be done. Again, for this 8 minus 6, the 6 was not bigger than the 8, so there is no change needed. However, once we encountered this 0 minus 8, we know 8 is bigger than 0, so for this instance, we need to regroup. The 0 turns into a 10, and this 1 initially turned into a 0. And then we couldn't do 0 minus 2 because 2 is bigger than 0, so this was another regroup, where this 3 turned into a 2, and the 0 turned into a 10. And then when we couldn't do 2 minus 7, again we had to regroup. The 2 turned into a 1, and the 2 turned into a 12.